Call our work session to order. I'll do a quick review of our council meeting agenda tonight. As far as the agenda goes, it's light on items. We will start with our, I'll call for any proposed changes to the agenda. We'll then go to public comment. We do have three public comments that have been submitted so far online. One is from Jan Lee, who wants to talk about the motion regarding Cascade Creek and Bornstead Park. And then we have two submitted that want to testify on tree removal policies. Well, from there, do we have a response to our last public comment?
I believe there was no public comment.
I couldn't remember. Thank you. From there, we'll go to our consent agenda, which has our city council meeting minutes from our August 21st meeting. Under old business, we have the Cascade Creek Parks SDC dedication discussion. Under resolutions, we have a proposed changes to our master fee schedule resolution 2023-31. Then we'll round off our evening with a report from our city manager and our committee and council reports. With that, let's turn it over to what I'm looking forward to this evening, which is our work session on Winterfest. Welcome, Rochelle and your team.
Excellent.
I'll let you take it from here unless you've caught your breath and you have anything you'd like to add to the conversation. Tyler?
You opened it up perfectly, Mayor. I'll just turn it over to Rochelle and her team.
Wonderful. Rochelle.
Okay, well, good evening, Council, Mayor. Thank you for this opportunity tonight to talk about Winterfest. When we were asked to put this presentation together and report to Council about it, we were super excited because we've been working really, really hard on this project since the budget process, and we were given a very generous allocation to make this even a better experience than last year. And so tonight I brought with me John Walls, who's the Senior Services Recreation Manager, and then Tiana Rundell, who's our Parks and Facility Manager, and then Chelsea Jarvis, so she's hiding in the audience back here. She's the Executive Assistant, and I wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to talk about the work that they've been doing, because truly it's the Parks team that's just absolutely, it's all hands on deck. This is a big endeavor. And I'd have to say, I think they're just doing a fantastic job. And so instead of me talking at you and taking what would appear for credit for all this hard work that they're doing, I really want them to talk about it and the cool stuff they're doing. And genuinely, our recreation coordinators, even our senior center, Caroline, is just everybody's hands on deck with it. So, whole department.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Without further ado.
All right.
Here's your work.
Thank you, Council. Thank you, William. Here we go. Maybe.
Does it have like holiday music or not?
I wish. We got some
All
cute
right.
little pictures of some cute little boys.
You'll
up
sing
there that
along
you're gonna
now,
see.
right?
For what it's worth, I was in church Sunday with my grandkid, and he started singing Jingle Bells.
Oh, they're
And
ready.
Three rows and it's
All
just busted.
right.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to be deeply planning a holiday event of this magnitude when it is still, I mean, we were doing it when it was the first walk we did up and down the downtown sector. I think it was like 98 degrees. This is,
Holiday spirit.
yeah, it seems odd, but
No Santa suit?
no, definitely not. That is the game. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is to provide you with an update on Winterfest 2023 to ask and answer any of your questions, and really just to kind of make sure to align our visions. You're going to see some repeat customers up on our pictures of my family when we were out there, enjoyed it. They make good models for this presentation. So tonight's agenda is just to kind of talk about what our vision of Winterfest is, where we're going with it, the upgrades we've made to Mining Park, our events that take place at Mining Park, the downtown experience, what we're trying to do there, our budget update, what it might look like in the future, and then limitations and solutions for those. All right, so our vision for Winterfest is really just to expand on the experiences that we had last year. That is both our decorations and our community events that we had. And the way to expand on that is to engage our businesses in that downtown sector between what Bluff and like Tenike right there, and really try to make this a more centralized and wider ranging holiday feel. So it's not just a park off of 26, but as you drive into town, you kind of get that over encompassing like holiday spirit and feel. And really we want Sandy to be seen as a winter destination and a place where people come to boost economic activity and tourism, as long as making these awesome community events that seem to be super popular. Keep those going. So where we are at currently right now is the Parks and Rec Department is taking over the management of Winterfest. That is our budgets, our contracts, and our programming. So up until last year, I guess this was really our first year, we had budgets kind of coming from all over the place, contracts from all over the place. We had two different companies that helped with like light install. Admin had a contract for the lights here. We had a contract at Meinig. Ant Farm had a contract with David Snyder and Jeff for some lights. And it was really, and the library did the contract with the plaza. There was 6 different hands in the pot, and it just seemed wild to try to organize that. So all of that now is kind of coming under Parks and Recreation to really, I mean, we want a lot of help and we want a lot of support, but at some point there's too many cooks in the kitchen. So it just made more sense to efficiently do it this way. And then the same with programming. So the tree lighting, all of that stuff's going to come under one department. We are in the middle of planning, purchasing, and then soliciting sponsorships. So right now we have this same events that we had last year, kind of like rinse and repeat. Those were pretty successful. We are trying to upgrade those by lighting the park more, by upgrading some of our decorations, our Santa backdrop. Some of that stuff was like Sandy style done, but I think we have the budget and the money now to really kind of upgrade those services. And then sponsorships. We have a goal of raising $15,000 to $20,000 to help try to offset some of these costs. And you'll see later that we're already out. I think we're at 10,000 already with the goal of, I think we'll get to 15 pretty easily. Businesses are excited about this. It hasn't been a hard sell to get people to join in. And then really the newness of this is this downtown section. How do we get businesses involved? How do we make this and grow this into kind of like this tourism destination and an economic driver? And so we are in the middle of crafting letters to all of our businesses. We've talked with David Snyder and with Chris from the Chamber. You know, there's 134 Highway 26 facing businesses in that sector. There's like 160 overall. We're going to work with them to send out businesses and flyers to talk about how they can help by decorating. And there's some creative ways that we have to pitch them that you'll see coming up.
Before you switch, 2 quick questions on that slide.
Absolutely.
First is, I'm assuming that's the new Sandy sign that you've taken a picture of.
That is the new Sandy sign. It doesn't do it justice. That is a 15-foot by 4-foot Sandy sign. That is going to be one of our main attractions, kind of like the showstopper pieces, as we're calling it.
Yeah, that's great. And then you took where were you on the above picture?
That's a Google image.
Yeah, that's
That's just where we're going. There's my
It's
rear
not
view
in
mirror.
Sandy or anything?
No.
Oh, man, I
Yeah.
thought you were really talented.
No, I'm
there.
definitely
Not that you're not.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, all right.
And then some of the other things we're doing is, you can see I took a picture of that island there. We've got some creative ideas that we'll talk about how to decorate the parts of the city that we own in that sector.
Super quick. How are we reaching out to local businesses? What methods are we using for that?
Perfect. So the first thing
Did I
is,
beat you?
perfect. The first thing that we're doing is sending out a letter to all those businesses, getting that information from the chamber. The letter's crafted. The flyers are almost made. Give them a week or 2 to sit on them and then kind of just go grassroots, door to door.
And then are we also reaching out, or is the chamber, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, reaching out to businesses who maybe don't have storefront property, but are local businesses that would still like to participate and donate?
In that sector or just in general?
Just in general.
We have some ideas how we're going to do that. We've done it with sponsorships. One of our sponsors is just an event sponsor. So come to an event, you can have your business there. What can you do to give back? What can we do to kind of give back that? And that's part of like the sponsorship piece of it. But we also have some ways in the future that we just haven't got to yet about what can we do. So, I mean, we get 500, 700 people here. Can we talk to Smoky Hearts? You want to give a 10% discount? Is there a Winterfest coupon book that we can give out that makes you go and visit these areas? And those are just like, those are in the infancy stage of what's been going on. Yep.
Kind of related to that, in the economic development part of the budget, it says that as well as a one-time $55,000 contribution from general fund surplus to provide business grants for lighting during Winterfest. And so is that kind of what we're offering them, is to help match their funds for doing some great lighting? Or
And you can help me out on this one, but I believe we started talking about that and we had a few different kind of in-depth discussions on what it would take to have parameters set of what, by giving these grants out, giving them the control to decorate their businesses, and how do we hone that in a way that, in all honesty, it doesn't give us the control. So they apply for this grant, they say yes, they go out,
Now you have the ugliest holiday light display. of all
right, or they
time.
buy some stuff that's just really not appropriate or what we want to represent. So
So we're not gonna do the grants.
no, so what we're
Yeah, so
spending
we
that
need to-
money on, I believe now, is our city property that we have in that sector. So that is our West Island, our East Island, our trees, our plaza, City Hall, the area in between Joe's Donuts, our Veterans Memorial. And then how do we pump up the streets, the utility poles, light poles? How do we go about doing that? And making sure we have control of that money to still give that holiday feel.
And then don't forget the mayor award. So.
Yes.
Hey, hey,
So this-
you
so the-
way
so
too- it's
Right,
on
and
here.
so, all right, the idea is we lean in on our properties, right? And then I joke with the mayor, even though that is one of them,
Right.
but we give out awards to businesses who participate, hoping we lean in on ours, make it attractive and everyone's doing it. And then we encourage the businesses to get involved through giving away an award and that kind of thing.
I do wish our economic development advisor was here. Because I worry that these things become very segmented and.
He's been highly involved in the discussions too.
Okay.
And we just think this is a way to get the most bang for the buck.
No, I'm not disputing that. I just, whether we fund that or don't, I mean, this is such an opportunity for the economic development. It's mentioned, number 2 bullet on the previous
Mhm.
slide, right? It's right up there.
Right.
We need to make sure this is fully embraced by both chamber and David.
Absolutely.
And we've had multiple meetings with the chamber and with David, and then what kind of, when we switch that idea of what that money goes for. And it kind of underwent all under Parks and Recreation. They've had a couple emails sent, we're coming back together.
Yeah, well, it just needs to go beyond how do we spend that limited money,
Yeah.
because leveraging this goes well beyond that little money.
Yep.
And I'm gonna kick it over to Tiana to talk about kind of some of the behind the scenes nitty gritty aspects of what we've done so far.
Good evening, everybody. As you may have noticed earlier this summer, the team and I were able to start off our upgrades to the park with doing a pretty extensive repair to the largest of 3 bridges in the park. It was dealing with safety hazards, rotting wood, and the structural integrity was really compromised. We have supplies on order, and you'll see a similar but much less extensive repair happening to the other bridge later this month. And with these repairs, we're gonna be able to add some lighted archways to the bridges in December. In June, we were able to start what has been a multi-phase electrical upgrade to the park. In June, we added 5 receptacles that have 4 outlets each to this area directly behind us, here behind City Hall. And we're just about done wrapping up with the second phase, adding the same amount of receptacles to the area north of the restrooms, or the area where the Easter egg hunts take place.
That's a gift that's just gonna keep on giving.
Tiana, are those lockable or
Oh, good question.
are all the homeless
They're
charging their
outdoor
phones on them?
outlets with a lid that comes down, so I do believe they'll either put a lock or at the very least like a zip tie on there. They're what we needed to do for code. Make sure they were up to code
Is
to
that
be
how the
outdoor
other
and the
lights in there
elements.
It'd be great to have like a little vault thing that goes over it, little, box, like a utility box or something, just to limit
Well,
access.
you'll see that it's on an actual post on that, the third photo over, so there's posts throughout
So-
the park.
The concern is we have homeless people that,
Right.
camp out there
We-
charging
we
phones, and
can-
we don't want to enable that.
We can shut breakers down if need be.
That's the right answer.
We've
We
had
can
more
shut it off.
success shutting it down that way than locking it, because locking
Sure.
just encourages it to get broken.
Broken.
No,
Okay,
that's
otherwise
fine.
it
I think that's
further-
great. It's just-
Yeah, it just encourages us to get broken.
Yeah, and that's what we've had happen at the library and at City Hall
Mhm.
in the past, so trying to shut them down can still work better.
So with these upgrades, we're gonna be able to add more decorations. There'll be more trees that are wrapped. There'll be 2 sections of the path that were not lit last year that will be lit this year with the same white lights over the path, the snowflakes, the lasers, and then we are adding some find new characters, and a few other little details have been purchased already, and then we're hoping to try to do some show stopping or picture worthy pieces as well.
So this is what other council meetings have we had where we're talking lights, lasers, and characters? So great.
And then one of the things Tiana didn't mention too is last year there was that path that we weren't able to light, so we're gonna be able to light an additional path this year, and so really.
To the section right over here, coming down from the parking lot behind Joe Stone, it's towards the playground will be lit, and then the section walking away from the gazebo towards Kimberly Drive will also be lit.
You're gonna be talking about things like lighting the trails and the steps towards Mining Park so that we don't have some of the dark spots we had last year. I know the parking lot seemed to be pretty lit, but I do know this entrance sometimes gets really dark. Get in there. So are you gonna?
We had
walk around?
lights right here at this entrance, so I'm not sure if I'm understanding correctly.
I see
Christmas
people
lights or pedestrian?
walking lights to the
It will
event.
all be holiday lights.
Okay, but I'm thinking
So the entrance.
safety lights.
The entrance over towards the post office, that side, was very dark coming in until you got to the welcome to the bridge almost. So that was very dark and almost questionable.
I think those are all, I mean, what I understand is that we have $100,000 set aside for trail upgrades in the budget. And that's to do, redo the trails and lighting along the trails. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna cover all of it or.
Well, it's just a matter of safety.
I don't know.
As a Santa who walked down there with a big beard over my eyes, it was very dark.
Just want to make sure if you're thinking about it, I don't know, the ones two times I was in there, and I came in from the place that Don's talking about from McCormick. It was dark, and I thought that when I looked up, I thought I saw darkness as people came from this parking lot behind us down into the. You're looking at that as well? Just.
So there'll
make
be a
sure we're
lot more
safe.
lights up in the trees, more trees wrapped. We're looking to try to have some sort of, hopefully an arch or staple piece over on the McCormick entrance that would help provide some more light.
Good, all right.
We
More
have
lasers.
not added outlets over there, trying to trench through the park that far. It's been pretty difficult to get the underground electrical going through the park. We have added a lot.
Blue lights in the water to make it look blue.
And then,
Instead of gold.
I
Council
thought we're
Walker,
gonna have gold.
you'd asked a question about the dedication of funds for the mining trails. It was $100,000 per year, so 200,000 total for the biennium.
That's for the trails, right?
There's a statement in the CIT that specifically says mining trails. Yep.
That's what we were just discussing, yeah.
So we're also purchasing 8 heaters to go in the park during the city managed programmed events to help make those events a little more cozy and comfortable for visitors. And with that, we have a storage pod that'll be coming and delivered late November and placed right back here, just like when the dumpster comes in for Mountain Festival. That's gonna make it easier for the event staff to have those heaters and other supplies they need here on staff. I am talking to multiple companies and looking into data trackers for us so that we can have personnel counters in the park, but it's not as fruitful as I would like it to be. But I am trying to give us some counters in the park to have some good data on our numbers of visitors.
I think it's a nice thing to have, but it's certainly not, for me, it's not a must have.
No, I'd agree with that. And then I guess, are you looking at, owning these data trackers, or we'll be able
Yes.
to do it year round? Okay.
So there's several companies that I have spoken with where we'd be buying the hardware and installing it in the park, and it'd be year-round data. I met with a camera contractor today that I've been talking to them for, separately, we're looking at adding cameras to the parks, and did find out that one of the vendors that we're looking at, if we went with them, their cameras have the capability to provide that data for us.
Oh,
We should have an estimate and numbers from them in a couple weeks for the cameras.
Are the trail counters movable so we can put them at different events?
They could be,
Yeah.
there's a
that's
few
kinda-
different options. and I
That's
will-
what usually the Forest Service uses so that they can get traffic counts on different trails.
Mhm.
The Ellen Sandy Ridge, those use trail counters up there. Are you buying the pod or just renting it?
Renting it for the.
And so I
just
mentioned
over
you're
a
getting a
month.
whole lot of stuff, all these lights and stuff like that. I mean, are you able to store all that at world headquarters there or?
Currently, it's in the men's locker room of the pool.
I was wondering.
That's a great place for it.
Okay, we may need to talk about that.
Santa's in the
You
speed.
sure you're gonna rent that pod, huh? You might want to just go.
Yeah, might need a comments.
Yeah, yeah. 2 words for you. Maintenance division.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, you're on that. All right, cool.
Well, I
Back to
know,
John.
back to John, what we were talking about earlier, kind of this downtown plan, what we kind of envisioned it and making sure that what we envision aligns with your vision and economic development. The chamber, we're really trying to booster up this downtown section. So what we're gonna do on our end is the lighting and the decorating of all the properties we have to the best of our abilities within our budget. And then what our idea is, if we just did that and didn't rely on businesses, we'd have these big gaps, right? We'd have the West Island where the waterfall is, we'd have the community center, but then you'd make it all the way to the Veterans Memorial until we have another piece of property. And then it's heavily dense there with the Memorial, City Hall and the plaza. And that's on Pioneer side. On Proctor, not as much because you have the electrical outlets for the trees and light those trees there. And so how do we engage our businesses to work with them to light their businesses as well? So when you come in, it feels like a one kind of like unified thing. And so this year, one of our ideas is this Merry Makeover competition, right? Where we go out and we incentivize businesses to be official Winterfest business members. They sign on, there's some parameters of what that takes. And basically what they're agreeing to is by December 1st, they're gonna decorate their business, their storefronts, and their landscape outside. And then from December 1st to December 22nd, there is a open public survey where people can go and vote for their favorite decorated business.
Great.
And then there'd be some awards attached to it. There'd be a first place award, second place award, third place award, and a mayoral prize, which would be like your kind of grand prize. And then those awards will be given out at our last event.
Thanksgiving. It should start at Thanksgiving.
Oh, as far as that's when they should have it decorated, sure.
Absolutely.
We'll to take note of that, that could be within the parameters.
I mean,
We haven't started.
Costco's already started now, so I mean,
Yeah, that's wild. They're already, lights are
because,
already.
I mean, our intent is to make this as wide as we can, especially from the economic perspective, so there's no reason not to start it.
I just know for
Thanksgiving.
our plaza, when we turn on the tree, that we do that on December 1st.
Yeah, and that's, well,
Kind of, we're turning everything on at the same
and I think
time.
that's, and you'll have to vary that from year to year depending on when
Yeah.
Thanksgiving falls,
I
so
know.
that's a week, so that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
First,
No, I like that
Um,
idea.
but just set that expectation that it's always right after
And
Thanksgiving that we start.
it gives a buffer.
Chris and then Kathleen.
I just had a question. I like your ideas here, but I want to go back to the grants for businesses to participate.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we set parameters around that grant itself, just like you do Sandy style in planning commission? You say, okay, in order to be eligible for this grant, you're gonna have to do this lighting or this color or this theme,
Right.
and then it would make them eligible for it. And that way businesses could still participate and be more of the highlight across the street. Because I'm thinking about how much it costs just to put all the lights on my house. I would love to have somebody give me a little bit of money to help out, especially if I'm trying to do a city theme. So I'm just wondering, did we think about that at all?
Yeah, we did. And what we talked about is you can sign up and agree to do all those things. And how do you hold them accountable if they don't do it? Do we go back and try to recoup the money back? How much of staff time does it take to essentially kind of manage these hundreds of grants going out? Just how does it work? It just seemed it seemed really complicated and seemed hard to make sure that it really matched what the vision was. So taking kind of all those things into consideration, we're like, well, let's try this year. Let's see what we can do with our stuff. Let's see if we can engage them and see if that works out. And then we have more control over the quality. It's really,
And part of it, I think, is still showing the community what we're doing, you know, where we're going as well.
That's what I was gonna build on that, you know, it maybe not setting a standard this year makes a lot of sense as we kind of see what works, what evolves. We'll be in a better spot in a couple years from now to probably dictate a new Sandy Winterfest style guide.
Style, right?
yeah.
And we're really making an effort to take what we did at Meinig and make sure that it has a wider net. And that's part of the efforts of what we're trying to do with some of the events and the stocking stuffers and different things where we're including those businesses. So that's gonna help involve them and want to get them
part of
Yeah, I
this
was just
budget.
thinking about the budget process and wanting to help businesses. And yeah, we're gonna put lights on our properties and businesses we own, but really the intent was just to help local businesses participate in the community event. So I was just wondering if there's a way to do that, but I understand if we're in the infancy stages of designing what our own city is gonna look like, it's kind of hard to hold them accountable to what we want until we've done this a year or two.
So Kathleen,
So-
then Carl?
I agree with what Chris said, and I also agree, maybe just kind of doing what we planned. What you planned, you guys done a great job this year, but then maybe kind of coming up with like a bunch of different items for next year, like here's our theme, snowflakes or whatever it is. That here's this where you can purchase it, same supplier and all that, so that it just has consistency. You can kind of run with that if you want, but what I was also asking about is I love the fact that we've got our trees lit up, almost year round. And how do we, and so I would like to see us, you're talking about doing the utility poles and the light, whatever you had in here listed. You have utility and light poles. And so I guess what I'd like to see is if it's possible to get as much bang for the buck out of these decorations, for winter long, like snowflakes and lights or something, white lights or something. Those are things that can go all winter long on the utility poles and the trees there to look, again, a nice look. To just have stuff up for, a few weeks, all these things in between at the library and all that, that's Christmas stuff. I get that. But if there's some stuff along the utility poles and the light poles and stuff that we can kind of make it, not just Christmas, but more winter wonderland would be, and just have it for the winter. I think that would be kind of a good use of our funds and just get more bang for the buck.
And that is
You're talking
something,
about more budget though for electricity.
Well, no, they're talking about doing stuff on the utility and light poles.
She's saying whatever you're gonna do,
Yeah.
still do it, but maybe do it with a white light when it makes sense instead of a green and red light so that it can last longer and not be so seasonal specific.
Right.
and the goal,
Yeah.
and the goal, I think that's why we've done the trees white, is that it is kind of this neutral, classic feel.
Right.
It's not specific to one holiday necessarily. One of the limitations that we were gonna talk about is that there is no electric on Pioneer from basically that entire sector. So
From
walk those-
Pioneer,
This is
So-
Pioneer.
yeah, I know, yeah. So
From the community center
Okay.
to the Veterans Memorial, there are no
There's-
outlets.
Yeah,
We found one outlet on the side of
that's on the side of a business
of a
up high.
business.
There's nothing even.
But you
facing-
do have businesses, and that was my comment, was is, if you approach this correctly, I think you're gonna see a lot of businesses want to make this something we can do. But as long as you approach them in a way that says this is positive, could be a place for people to benefit from it. I think you're gonna see a lot of businesses will step forward. One thing to do though is we talk about different themes every year. That may work. On the other hand, the business goes into it full bore and they have to switch every year. That's a cost. And it may not be as doable as if you just build on each one of them. So I've seen this happen before where you have 1 year, it's a certain theme, and then the next theme it has that plus whatever. So you have things where you can reuse.
Yeah.
Businesses are looking for ways to be efficient as well as having a lot of fun. In the wintertime, I think you're gonna see people wanting to do stuff. I'm hearing that from the folks I interact with. Stuff. So I think Pioneer could be lit.
Or at least good sections of it, I agree. But it's gonna be up to those businesses wanting to be involved. And then that you get weird because Highway 26, it's all through ODOT permitting and there's weird parameters.
I
as
think
far
you're gonna
as-
have to incentivize it somehow, because I think in this economy, you're asking businesses to fork out a lot of money.
That's kind of, I was just gonna ask, like, these prizes, well, 750, I think, is a sizable dent. Would it be worth upping them so that if a business wins, they get to recoup more of their costs a little bit? Because I mean, you can spend $750 just to do your gutters at Costco.
Yeah.
Pretty
This is
informed on
something,
that.
This is something you can't, fork out a $2,000 lighting bill, hoping or planning on.
Yeah, I get that.
That's kind of where I'm going with this
Yeah.
economy. I mean,
Oh. I'm
some
not
of these
against,
businesses may not be as enticed by this. as
Right,
we
so
like.
if you're a tavern there, lighting up your store is gonna draw in people. There's a nice cause and effect, and you're gonna have an easier time drawing a business case. But if you're the old building, the blue building over there, with nobody in it, no tenants, you're not gonna spend a dime on it, right?
You're probably gonna have time things, so at 10 o'clock at night, things will break off because they're gonna save money from the lighting. But maybe that's something to think about too, is what times you're thinking about to have the light work in the businesses and the cities too.
In as much as the electric bill it's not as big a deal as it used to be because of the LEDs, but the initial expense to buy it really has gone up.
Rich?
Yeah, I just think that, a little bit to both points. I respect the staff time for all the things. So, I mean, maybe one option is just limit the number so that not every business is eligible, cap it at 10 grants and that's what it is. Whatever you end up with, is I think one option. So you don't have to worry about 50. And then also, I personally think that should fall under the development piece so that it doesn't fall under your operation side. The economic development, I'm sorry, piece. So it doesn't fall under the operation side and tie you guys down. So I think that's one option. And the other piece is, and I realize it doesn't play into the thing, but maybe it's an upping of the money. Maybe it's you get, if you win the Merrill Prize, you get your business advertised at the next year's event.
No taxes for a couple of years.
I can't do that one.
Oh, hey.
But I think a little more incentive to participate might not be a bad thing. Maybe, like I said, maybe you get free advertising next year or January. I don't know, something.
No water rates for any.
Yeah, that's not happening either.
And we'd be happy to throw in, like, right, if they receive the first, second, third in the mayoral prize, we can advertise for it and congratulate them on a bunch of different ways. So that's definitely something we could do this year.
He's not looking at me, so I'm just gonna talk.
I know.
One of the things that is a business person, the thing that makes me excited is when I get people in my front door. There's something that you can do to make this thing happen so that people need to go in. Maybe the voting happens to be on the inside. Maybe I don't know, but you can make that happen. But people in my front door makes me really excited. And just having a sign out front of colors and
I love like the trick or treat thing we do at.
oh my, oh yeah,
Those
I get
are
1,000
great.
people in that front door.
So we need a
That's
trick or
great.
treat kind of thing.
Well, if you go down to this next bullet
I
point,
was
it's
gonna
called the
say-
stocking stroll.
Yeah,
And I
okay.
want you to thank the trick or treat
Sorry.
trail.
We're just setting you up.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. That is one of the events. We want to eventually have events that are not just in the park, that are in that downtown section. To
Okay.
start bringing people there, so they are going into these businesses, eating at these restaurants, going into mom and pop shops that they've never really seen before. And asking questions, getting involved. So the idea of the stocking stroll is very similar to the trick or treat trail. If you're a business that has been an official Winterfest sponsor, they've entered into the Merry Makeover Challenge. One of the things they're also going to do is open up their doors on, I think it's December 9th is the day of the event that we're pitching to be a stocking stroll. So families will bring their stockings, stop at these different events, ask questions, get a candy cane, a treat, a small present, and then kind of walk that downtown sector on that night. And we're hoping we can have that event similar to last year. I mean, we were pushing 400 to 500 easy last year. And we get a big group like that during that event, if not more, like the trick or treat trail.
Love it.
It's a good start, at least, for where
Yeah.
we're trying to go.
Great.
And like, these things aren't set in stone. This is a great meeting. We're taking notes on these events, and we'll go and reconvene as a team and talk about what is really feasible with time, money, efforts this year, and we can report again. The events, we'll go through them pretty quickly. They're very similar to last year. So we have our annual tree lighting. That's gonna be pretty similar to the way it's always been, except for, I think we're aiming bigger as far as size of our tree.
We're at 35 feet, is my understanding right now.
Yeah, so we went out to Knapp Farms today, and I mean, based off of just a picture of a guy next to a tree, knowing how tall he was, kind of measuring.
Oh, we did the same
Yeah.
thing.
And we're looking at 35-ish feet. And I went and measured the base of the trunk, and it looks like it'll fit in just fine.
So it sounds like I gotta help you move it.
Yeah, I think me and you
Okay.
together though. just
Yeah,
one short
that's what
each.
we're doing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we'll be fine.
All right.
But there's some solutions
Yeah.
around doing that. And then, yeah, It's a big collaboration between a lot of different people and departments, and it'll be the kickoff also to when we light up Minot Park this year. So after they do the tree, they'll make an announcement, and then the park will be open for just a general walkthrough. And then the next night is the pet pictures with the Grinch, where you and your family can come with your pet. Doesn't even have to be a dog. Last year we had cats, bunnies, and we had a lizard, a lot of dogs. We did a petting zoo as well, and we looked into reindeer. Reindeer are so expensive to get out here. And it's like, oof, that's a bunch of money going to reindeer. And so we kept it with goats and pigs and bunnies and things that you could pet safely anyways.
The gazebo gonna be lighted this year?
Yep.
Question on those events, you know, you've got Kiwanis providing cocoa and snacks and all, and I know in the past we've kind of said, oh, you know, they're gonna provide all that for free, everything's gonna be free.
Mhm.
And I just kind of think, you know, with the Sandy Mountain Festival, you know, there's opportunities to kind of, you know, have them sell hot chocolate and coffee or,
Absolutely.
you know, food or whatever it is to kind of help raise, you know, sort of like Mountain Festival floats everybody's boats higher. They're able to kind of make some money. I'm not saying, I mean, Kiwanis would probably be willing to give it away, although they already do the Christmas basket stuff, which is a huge giveaway. And so I'm just kind of, I'm trying to understand, was there a reason? I get that, you know, last year was kind of a, you know, you bicycle together while we're riding it, but in this case, as we go forward and we want these sponsors, all the other places that we have, you know, the PIR does food donation for their food banks, and, you know, they've got snack sheds and whatever that people can buy stuff from. And I'm just wondering if, or do we want them to kind of go to the restaurants and local restaurants and, you know, hand out like coupons for, you know, whatever Girl Scout cookies at the, you know, no place saloon or something like that. I don't quite understand what the, you know, I get the idea of trying to encourage the local business and all that, but I'm just a little concerned about how do we get these partners like Kiwanis and all the Rotary and all these other folks to kind of show up and, you know, spend a lot of money on giving away a lot of stuff for free.
And I can answer that really quick. So the answer is yes, that's definitely an option that we could look into. There's a couple of layers that go a little bit deeper when you ask, or nonprofits show up to sell. There's, you know, if they're selling food, then there's the restaurant license that they have to have, the temporary restaurant license. The other thing that we've discovered is there's a lot of requests for that. So we'd have to come up with like a vetting system of, you know, is it Kiwanis tonight with Rotary, and then the following event, is it, you know, we had a request for someone to come in and sell ice cream to support their nonprofit dog. It was like a dog thing. And so there would have to be a way to vet that. So it wasn't, you know, just a certain couple of nonprofits that get that benefit. But the answer is yes. Yeah.
Well, just a question for the council. Do you care whether it's a for-profit or non-profit if they're serving cocoa and coffee?
Yeah, because I think that the community groups will care.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'd like to
That's what I'm
lean.
asking.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, I do, yeah.
Yeah,
Because I wouldn't have
agree.
heartburn if one of the local businesses, not Milka or something, was down the, you know.
No, I mean, I wouldn't either, but when you've got places that are trying to do, like Rochelle's saying, you know, they're trying to raise money for a nonprofit that they have, and we're giving preferential, I'm not saying that would be the case, I'm just using an example. You know, we're giving preferential treatment to a local business who already makes money in our town. Yeah, and the other thing is, yeah.
Because it mirrors Mountain Fest too, which is the way that's always been, so.
Yeah, but it doesn't mirror music in the park, right? Where we have vendor, you know, for-profit vendors and stuff that are there and charge. I think that's something we could probably leave with our staff, knowing that, you know, we probably lean in with the community groups more than the for-profit, you know, because that's kind of the feeling you want when you walk out of that park, I think, is this community group selling, raising money, all that good holiday cheer you feel when you do it. But yeah, I mean, investigate it.
Yeah,
Those
definitely
groups
can.
usually have food handlers, like, you know,
Yeah.
Kiwanis does the Mountain Festival, the fly-in, all that stuff. They all have food handlers.
Now,
But-
that said, I am opposed to Girl Scout cookies at No Place Saloon.
Right.
Sorry.
But
Seems like the wrong place.
you know, one other thing, I mean, just to consider is that, you know, kind of last year when they started this, and I know we're adding on to this every year is the intent, but you know, the whole point of this was to make it accessible to everyone. you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and so when you start charging for things, now it's not accessible to everyone. So just keep that in mind also.
Yeah, I don't think we should charge entrance.
No, I'm just saying, if,
I don't know.
if
that we
my,
have to
if a
provide
little,
hot
if a
cocoa
little
for free.
if a family of 10 is here and they want hot cocoa, but they can't afford hot cocoa for 10 people. Now you are,
I would like to add, it wasn't so much, that
It's
it
not
was
accessible.
some to get everybody involved, but I think it was also to give us a wintertime activity that would draw people into the city. And I think
sure,
the more crowd we get, the more I think it fulfills that. And I do believe that one of the things that we have a dark park for, you know, all winter long, and now we've got a chance to light it all up, get people in it, and really be a good community project. I would suggest though that we build on this, not try to go everything the first or the second year,
Right,
really.
yeah.
But build on it, and next year we may have some ideas of things that we didn't like the second year, and that the third year we'll do it better.
So we're not gonna have an ice rink in the.
No, I don't know about that.
I'm having to really wrap my brain around that, but I
We
guess we'll
should
be
put it-
okay with it.
We should put an art portion of it too in there, so we have a.
Yeah.
In a couple,
Do we have more? Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, let's let the.
Yeah.
And I agree basically with everything. Last year was really a Sandy specific community event that we wanted it to be free. We wanted people to come out and be able to go do
Mhm.
something during the
Yeah.
holidays when they're already buying presents that felt pretty special to them, that for this community that lives here. And I think there's a way to keep that going and also allow, especially like our local nonprofits, the ability to help themselves out as this continues to grow and get bigger and it becomes a more tourist driven thing. Yeah, it probably makes more sense to start leaning into that. But for this year, our thought was mimicking last year that we think the majority of the people that come are going to be our local residents. And if we can have these amazing community events to them, it just builds good favor, really.
I have a couple of comments on additional events. The high school music departments are always looking for places to play, sing, do concerts and things. I would think you could fill that gives the theater Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday every weekend through December from schools in the area.
they were there
Yeah.
last year.
Huh?
They were there last year.
Every weekend?
No, but they were there for a weekend.
Which school?
The high school.
Well, yeah, the high school. I'm thinking high schools, they're all over.
Or do
They're
you,
looking for places to perform.
right, but you
And they
also,
bring their parents and their family with them, so they bring in people.
well, even a small OTA has a music class this year, right? It could be a
That's-
project. I mean, all these great schools, I mean, yeah, it would be cool.
But it could go beyond the district is what
Yeah.
I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
In terms of filling in the other calendar days.
Again, be careful though, you're gonna end up with a lot of people. How are you gonna throw some out, throw some in without causing some?
Just remind us, these are
Solve
ideas.
that problem.
These are ideas.
Everybody's excited.
I
yes.
love the ideas. I'm
Yes.
not
It's
a
overwhelmed
lot
by
of-
this.
Yeah,
I
don't
just that-
take all this
that we
by,
don't
oh
get.
my goodness, now they want a concert every night.
Yeah.
Right, right.
So there's,
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you guys.
okay, so
Yeah,
here's the thing. You've got how many days? 30 days, 45 days planned out for Winterfest, and we have 8, 6, 7 activities planned for there. There will be people at the park all those other nights, not as many, but there will be people there, and the more we have going on, the more people will be there, and we'll spread it out over the time. We're not gonna put 20,000 people through in a single night. That'll never work. So in time, as we look to expand, it's gotta kind of spread that load over. And that's where I'm looking at it, is to say there will be interest. It's an opportunity for them to perform. Choir teachers everywhere would be thrilled to have another venue to sign up that's not, downtown at the
Pioneer
We knew
Place,
where you were going the
I
moment you
knew where
said
I was going.
downtown.
the cathedral,
Pioneer
the
Place.
church place.
The grotto.
The grotto.
Grotto,
They all go down to the grotto to sing, and
Yeah.
they have 20 groups every night.
And that's actually one of the slides we talk about a little bit later, because we are so excited about seeing this grow. And just one of the limitations that we have when we add events, and that's what's important about incrementally adding this, is we're a small but really mighty group of people, and we add these events and we have to stretch out the time. And so we have 2 recreation coordinators right now, and the managers are working quite a few weekends, and so we add those, and it stretches the team pretty thin, so.
So we're on December 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, but these are pretty quick, so similar to last year, we partnered with this group of theatrical performers that, and for all intents and purposes, they were Anna and Elsa, right? But this Snow Queen and Queen came and did these theatrical readings. The high school band and choir were here. They performed carols, and then there's participating partners that did their drinks and snacks. Estampa y Santa, the Estampa Mexicana came in and did traditional dancing. And then Santa was in the gazebo taking pictures and granted wishes and doing all the things that Santa does. And then really like this one, we had Longest Day Parkway, which is our kind of like summer solstice event. This is the sister event, the Shortest Day Walkway on the winter solstice. Getting our departments involved, already sent out emails to departments and heard back from most already. That event's going to be upgraded. And basically it's very similar, right? It's going to be a chance for our city departments to interact in a super positive way, let them know what's going on, provide gifts, snacks, answer questions.
That was an awesome event last year.
Super
and
fun.
Hanukkah, there was a lighting last year. Is
Yeah.
that coming up here or?
That's the
It
last
was- it felt very last minute last year, so I think it may have been. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure if we are doing it, we're.
wasn't a city sponsored event. That was a private rental from an outside agency that did it, that just had a lot of people from the city that went and participated in it.
Are they planning on doing it again?
As of right now, they have not rented out, and when we talked with them, they were not sure.
So it's kind of awkward that I guess we rent it out and, we do all this, we spend all this money, but for that kind of thing, we ask them to.
Maybe we should be maybe let's
We
be
asked-
pro.
We asked them to be a part of it in our way. They wanted complete control over it. They were not interested in partnering with us last year in that way.
What do they
I
need
would-
more than the stage?
They just, when we talked, and I can get more information
Yeah.
and report back to you, when Carol talked with them
Yeah.
about wanting to come in and be a part actually of this event, to be a
It's Carol.
multicultural event. They wanted to keep they weren't, not that they weren't interested like in a rude way. They
Yeah.
just wanted to have the plaza. They wanted to do it the way they had thought about doing it.
Oh, so they do it in the plaza.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
But they had to bring in somebody from a long ways away. if I
Yeah.
recall. Didn't have
They
anybody.
didn't have the ladder. I think Carol's husband brought the ladder and, it was pouring rain. God
Yeah.
Yeah,
help him.
terrible.
So,
Well, one thing I would say is I'm a little concerned about if we encourage Hanukkah, do we have to encourage others? When we start, are we gonna have, I'm gonna show my bias here. We're gonna encourage witches, are we gonna do some things that are
that your
off the
bias?
deep end and all that sort of thing?
Um,
How far does that go? I mean, do we have to do anything? to Open the entire world up, or is it just
I think
for
that's a
the?
Pandora's box.
Yeah, so to answer your question, the Hanukkah celebration was a private rental that they did on their own.
Correct.
People went for it. As far as providing a multicultural event, typically what we try to do is follow our demographics, right? So what are the demographics here? Celebrate and do as much in capacity as what our demographics show.
Mhm.
So if we had in those regards, opening that box, if we had 80% of Sandy's population that were super into holiday witches, we would probably do that, but I don't think we do, and so we would.
And remember, there's no religious element to this. Now granted, it's very much around the Christmas holiday.
Yeah.
But this is a winter fest.
Because of the religious element.
No, I understand, but we're not putting on a Hanukkah night.
Well,
This
that's,
is,
I love
this
the
is a
idea of them-
cultural, this is a cultural outreach. My point is we're not picking certain religious events over others. None of the,
Yeah.
I mean, there's certainly, I'm acknowledging a strong Christmas undertone. But the point is that this is a very multi-secular event.
Same thing.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that sometimes you open the door just a little bit and sometimes you get beat open even bigger. And again, this is all about, these are ideas, not things you have to do, right? It's just,
I like the idea of them renting it, even if it's at a very discounted cheap rate. It
Mhm.
just creates a little
No problem.
separation.
well, and they were they were very grateful for everybody that came, Carl was there, I was there, it was, and they really appreciated it. It was a nice, community
Yeah.
event for them.
nothing wrong with it.
All right. Carry on here.
I'm gonna go super quick now. Holiday happy hour, the saddest event last year because we had huge weather that came in and
That's right.
took trees over, we had to cancel it. It was really a bummer. So we're hoping that we're not going to have any weather events this year that come in and take down trees and limbs and lights, and that we can continue to have this kind of adult themed event in the park. Sponsorships, I'll kind of graze over this. $10,500 confirmed so far. We're still waiting. These are sponsors that we've used in the past. There's a whole untapped businesses that if we have to, need to, can go out and talk with.
Can you clarify, Bartlett Vet's on there twice for 2,000 each? Is
Yeah,
that true, or is that?
No, it was a mistake. It's just once, 2,000.
Can you reach out to PGE?
So,
Oh, yeah, right.
okay, so we have.
All that
8,000
electricity?
confirmed.
We've also had some interest from the garbage
it
company as to ways they can get involved in community events. This might be
And we've-
one.
Who's reaching out to
Nothing much
PG?
Barlow bet on there twice.
We can't.
Bartlett Vet?
Yeah,
John, reach out to
we
me.
say it once.
Okay. And then the other thing that when I was talking with our Parks Board chairman,
6.
he talked about electricity drops that they can do off of utility poles. We don't know much about it, but he said it was
36.
something to reach
Such
into.
as very-
So instead of having to have conduit underneath the ground and bore, go into that, it could be a really good cost saving.
Cool.
So
The-
two things to talk with them about.
Keep in mind, they'll be very different departments.
Yeah. I know the supervisor.
Yeah.
Changed it real well.
Yeah, look at your screen.
Okay. Yeah,
Big
okay.
screen.
I have two more items before you hit the budget, because I think this is next to the last one.
Yeah.
That I think we should look into, and I know time and resources and everything else, but the parking and partnering with transit to make sure we have those events covered for transit and parking off-site and off-location. Making sure we got a plan, proactively advertising this outside of the area, since we're trying to push outside of the area now, outside of Sandy. The last one, something to think about if we wanted to come up with, Andy and transit, is a trolley, residential light tour kind of thing, maybe a few nights. Because
Love
there's
that
some
idea.
really cool stuff around town.
With
You got the
Caroling.
trolley.
With
A caroling trolley, absolutely, yeah,
No problem with that at all.
That's a great idea.
thanks.
And
Stan's gonna lead the caroling. Dressed as a gingerbread.
Well, the thing is when I lead it,
Thanks.
everybody feels
Thanks.
comfortable with their own voice.
Fair enough.
we've already signed a contract to have, I believe it's a half page in Pamplin in November to go out, and we're looking at other creative ways of expanding that.
I'm
too. So
trusting the trolley will be decorated in an appropriate light and our attire.
I will see to it.
Yes.
All right,
Ambitions of us getting onto morning news
yeah.
programs.
Oh, here we go.
That's the
Here we
goal.
go.
That's the goal.
Oh, wait, that's not an ice rink.
Sorry. All right, OTSD, I think, is a valuable partnership that we want to tap into and build a really positive relationship with. So we've got their band, we've got their choir, they're gonna come out and do events, but can we talk to their newspaper, the visual arts programs? How do we get their students and them involved to come out here and see the magic, report on the magic, and kind of work together to do that?
Tell them about your Sandy light thing you got. Maybe they want an SHS or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so we're working to expand that, go back, right? This is just, right now, we're in these ideas of like, because we have the same thing. It's great that we have it in that downtown sector, but how do we make sure that people that come out here stop and enjoy our wonderful town? So do we have discount coupons? How do we communicate the schedule with all of the businesses so they know, so they can also advertise and be a part of it? And then in the future, can we add more programs? We have the stock and stroller. What else can we do to show off our city? And then long-term goals is really added electrical. That East Island doesn't have any. So it's gonna be hard to light that. Our utility poles, again, we talked about it along Pioneer, don't have any. We've talked about, talking to PGE about electrical drops. I don't even know what that looks like. Our ice skating rink long-term, may be a huge undertaking, but it'd be pretty cool.
Huge.
I mean, I'm sorry, are we serious about that?
Long-term, like 20 years,
Long-term,
if this
yeah.
grows into some huge economic
climate-
driver.
At least one of us 7 here is.
Roller skating.
Yeah.
I'm
I
very,
serious-
I'm very
am I
well
serious
aware I
about-
need to find an outside benefactor for it, but yeah.
Am I serious
Ice
about,
skating slash roller skating, okay.
Yeah.
am I
got it.
serious about spending time and money on that this year, this biennium or the next one? No, not really, but I mean, if I think long-term, I mean, I don't know, we think Zoo Lights or Leavenworth, they didn't have it all in 1 or 2 years, and so, yeah, what if in 20 years?
Garden hoses and cold weather.
Yeah.
Just something to, when you're talking Oregon Trail, if you haven't already, or you already have, or whatever,
Yeah.
and I don't know if they still do this, or it kind of was one of those things that got lost over the last couple of years, but the art students used to go around to the local businesses and paint.
I think they still do.
Yeah.
We could talk with them.
Yeah, so that might be another way that maybe some local businesses can get some decorations
Decorations.
very inexpensively.
Yeah, absolutely. Great idea.
They did the library.
And then sustainable plaza tree, looking into it, whether that is how can we plant something there that grows and becomes this tree that we don't have to rely on cutting down 40, 50-foot trees and transporting here. Or there are some incredibly expensive, but really cool, like synthetic trees that are great. So there's things that we've thought about that I figured.
Keep moving.
Down there. Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's not gonna.
I hear you. They're pretty cool though. I'll show you some pictures and you'll go, and that's pretty cool. It's not what I want, but pretty cool.
It's kind of a wrong town to
Yeah.
put that one in.
Limitations and some solutions. Sorry if I'm going quick right now. Upgrades at Minnick Park. So these are,
Expectations.
yeah, but that's on ourselves really too. Our Merry Makeover competition, and then the solar battery power lights that we've looked into. So we've had issues with the electric. We've covered a lot of them at Minnick. We're trying to think creatively with this Merry Makeover competition to have help doing that. And then we've purchased solar and battery powered lights that we're trying to test. Unfortunately, with the solar ones, since we bought them, it has mostly been 90 degrees and crystal clear skies and doesn't really emulate what a winter day is going to do around here. So, and then with the battery power ones, we just have to see how long they'll last. So we're talking about like wrapping those light poles with them. And if we get 2 days worth of lights out of them, it'd be really hard to justify spending 15 hours a week changing batteries and light poles. So, expectations, right? It's a limitation for sure. When, at least even for me personally, I look into this and I start seeing everything that's out there and what we could do, and then realizing how much time, how much staff, how much money that takes. And while this budget is generous, we appreciate it. We can do awesome things. It's having that idea that, hey, this is a long-term process. We're gonna eat this elephant one bite at a time, and we're gonna grow, and it's gonna become something that we're already proud of, but something that turns into something special. And then making sure that we're all in alignment with what this is, and looks like, and we're open in our communication, that we meet regularly and make sure that we're doing what we want to do. Staffing, so we are installing everything at Minnick in-house to help save costs. That is a team of Tiana and 2 full-time employees, and they still have their own job to do. That is a 4-week install, like a 2-week plus deinstall takedown. And so how do we continue to serve Sandy's Parks in the capacity that we always have and have four weeks of install time? So we've got a on-call at will staff that we've been able to procure for those 4 weeks. And we have got a really capable building monitor who works at the rec center, who's eager for more work, who we've amended their contract to do with this. So we've got 2 extra staff that really help save some costs on that.
There may be some volunteer
Yeah.
things that you can utilize too.
I know really well the PGE supervisor here in town. We've got a lot of electricians. If you're thinking about electricity hookups, that may be a way to expand your staff.
Weather, heaters, right? Last year, we had pretty good weather for most of it, but there was a couple events where it was cold, below 30. It got pretty icy, and we didn't have any. So trying to put these kind of like social pods under heat. So as you're walking around, you can take a break, warm up, socialize, enjoy the lights. And then really one of the things was informing the public of beforehand of if there is a weather issue, what that means, where to contact, who do you talk to, how do you check to see if your event's still going on? Because by the time the weather happened here, it was like the night before, and we had people that not flew in, that'd be awesome, came in from like Battleground, Washington, though, pretty far away to come and did not know that it was canceled. So how do we do better at communicating when those things happen?
Something to think about if this takes off. I don't know if this year is the one that's going to take off or the year after, but traffic control is going to become a big deal. And we may need signage.
Great point. And then another limitation is what you can decorate outside of your businesses. We've got pretty important code, and so does ODOT about non-blinking lights. So one of the things we came up with is if we make a proclamation that considers Winterfest a community event, there is some wiggle room around what is allowed via city code on a community event that isn't necessarily a
All the time.
part of code. And so I think we're working.
Well, let me just a
I
quick,
might be,
yeah, quick clarification on that. So at a later date, what we'll do is we'll bring a declaration for the council declaring that, you know, this is a Winterfest holiday. We'll still keep parameters in there that make it so it's safe. So for example, they can't block the right of way. ODOT doesn't want flashing lights, so we'll uphold those codes, but we'll write it in a way that's clear that council is comfortable with, basically allowing the businesses to kind of go around that 1532 code, the San Diego Municipal Code.
Okay, have you thought about music? You're gonna allow it or not allow it? I don't know how much music is allowable or not.
as far as
Noise ordinance.
Are you gonna have, noise ordinance? I'm thinking about
Probably the
everybody's
same
gonna
thing.
have.
it would probably
Around-
be that same
Okay.
kind of
Yeah,
declaration.
we'll add that to take a look at, make sure that
I know I need to be kind of probably strict with my time in your guys' next meeting.
I got one more that's important.
I'd also feel comfortable coming back soon to do this again if needed.
So last year, my wife and I dressed up as Santa, the students of Santa, we went down there on a number of nights and handed out things. And we had a great time. But when we think about it from a city perspective, having random strangers go down there and hug your kids and give them things to eat is probably not a great idea to allow in general. So I was wondering, but I think we should enable it, but do it with a vetting. So I'm wondering if a Santa sign up and vetting would be appropriate. It might be something we need legal to weigh in on to see what risk we encounter if we were to take that on.
Yeah.
But it would also allow for mayor to be sent on Thursday, me not to go down there the same night and cause childhood trauma. when two of us show up.
Two Santas, one's a helper. And one's a real one. Yeah, but I also feel like the Grinch through town that does their thing. I don't know how much we can stop a random person just
I'm
strolling
not
through
suggesting we stop, but just the idea that a volunteer sign up,
or something.
even at a minimum, just a volunteer sign up in coordination so that, you know, the 2 or 3 or 7 of us that want to
Right.
play kind of coordinate nights.
Be fun.
That's it, we have a
Gotta work
volunteer.
on your beard.
Well, you better get going now. Well, you guys are further along than me.
We have a volunteer process and things like vetting. We do a quick city background check that could help out if they sign up through us. And it's just understood that you might see the Jolly Man when you're out there on a random night.
And so that's something I've been looking for the city to say, we're interested in Santas. Let us know if you're interested, express this, and here's what you'd have to do to go through it. And that helps. Just having that out there on those other nights will bring people in and start to spread out the usability, even if we're not having that.
Something we can definitely look into and see how we can do it.
I don't think we ever had more than 2 or 3 dozen kids just in the hour, so you could wander down there whenever, midweek.
Can you, just one question, can you scroll back to the budget, because whatever's on one more slide. There, okay. So,
So these are sponsorships, budget
Yeah.
was
Yeah, that's different than the packet. The packet one had Bartlett listed twice.
okay.
Yeah,
Alright,
we
so
changed
some-
it. We realized we made a
Okay.
mistake. and
Oh,
so
that's
we
okay.
added
No, I
this
just
one.
was curious. So you still have 10,000, now you have 10,500. That's great.
I get washed away.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job.
And again, I don't know. if
Great
it's-
thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something that we need to come back to. I know personally, I love talking about
Yeah,
this. I think
we
this is a
enjoy
great
it too, as
special
you
thing.
can
So
tell. We
This is a
enjoy
fun
it, you
thing.
can tell.
We want to know how we can help you
Yeah.
achieve anywhere near what we've been talking
Yeah.
about. So if it's volunteer help, if you need more community assistance, the code thing, you gotta let us know how to be successful.
yeah,
We need
we've
more
had great
help.
feedback. I think what we'll do is meet kind of departmentally and talk about making sure that everything is in line.
Maintenance.
How we can do that. And then once we have a clearer picture and we need help or volunteers or Santas or whatever it is, reaching out and make sure we're kind of tackling this as a community together. Yeah.
Well, thank you, guys. You've done an amazing job. I know it's a lot of work that
fun
we've
work.
thrown on you here. But thank you. And no, while we certainly, I can't say we have low expectations for this. Please don't, I can speak because we all have these one-on-one conversations. We're very realistic. We understand. We're all just very excited about the direction it's going. We don't have to be all the way there this year, but thank you for embracing it too. I mean, we feel that the team too has really just kind of grabbed it and ran with it. It wouldn't even be happening if that didn't happen.
It's-
So thank you
it's
for
credit
doing that too.
Michelle's Idea
So,
for even
Yeah.
pursuing this. I mean, this came out of nowhere. Michelle
Yeah.
just popped this one, hey, let's do this. You know,
All right, appreciate it, you guys.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. All right, that'll adjourn our work session. Our city council meeting to order. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome, everybody. No, thank you. I'll do a quick review of tonight's agenda. I will first call for any proposed changes to tonight's agenda. We'll then go into public comment. Other than the three I have here, has anybody else submitted for public comment yet?
I haven't received any others.
All right, thank you. After public comment, we'll move to our consent agenda, which has our city council meeting minutes from August 21st, 2023. Under old business tonight, we have our Cascade Creek Parks SDC dedication discussion. Under resolutions, we have proposed changes to the master fee schedule resolution 2023-31. And then we'll round off the evening with a report from our city manager in our committee and council reports. Jeff, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Counselor Mayton,
Present.
Counselor Smallwood.
Here.
Counselor Sheldon.
Here.
Counselor Walker.
Here.
Counselor Exner.
Here.
Counselor Hutchinson.
Here.
Mayor Pulliam.
Here. Thank you for that, Jeff. With that, I will ask if there's any proposed changes to tonight's agenda. Hearing none, we'll move ahead to public comment. Council welcomes your comments on matters at this time. If you are attending the meeting in person, I will call for public comment. Please raise your hand and I will call you up. If you are attending the meeting via Zoom, please, you've already completed the online. All right, so let's go ahead and go to who signed up. Let's go to Jan Lee. Is she online and ready to go, Jeff?
She is online.
She wants to talk about the Cascade.
Yeah, but we can hear it during this public because it's not a public hearing that we're having.
Oh,
Jan, you have 3 minutes. Please remember to state your name and address for the record.
Jan, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
So are you? Oops. It's not going to work. Can
It's her own.
Jan, if you can hear me, sort of feedback issue that we're having with you. I have 2 individuals signed up for public comment. We're going to do those and then we're going to attempt to come back at you. With that, I will call up Scott Foster. Scott, you have 3 minutes. I have your address. So you don't have to worry about saying it.
Is this where I go right here?
Yeah.
Okay, this is very new to me. I'm here today. I'm a realtor in the state of Oregon. I'm representing my brother, Chris Foster, here in the potential purchase of a home in Julesberry Ridge, working with Jason Schuler. Yeah, I understand you. Some of you know him. Anyway, so in brief, I don't know if this is the right format, but I was recommended to come here because in visiting the city, they said, we don't really have any power to address the questions you have or the situation. So maybe you could just visit city council. So what it is my brother is in need of moving from his 2-story home into a 1-story ranch home in Sandy. And there's hardly anything available. We've identified one that they're very, very interested in, but they have a tree on the property that is, I don't know if you can all see this, but it's about 21 feet from the house. It's probably 80 feet tall, so about 4 times the height of the home. I have documented a few pictures of damage on the tree. If you saw this carefully, you can see there's a bow in the tree that the tree doesn't lean towards the property, but anyway, there's a bow. My brothers lived in a home where there was a tree much further away from his home. They moved out of it because it was constant havoc whenever there was a storm, and they're extremely concerned just about the overall long-term stability of the tree. It's standing alone. I don't know how it stood before, whether there was trees around it and whatnot, but anyway, So we've been talking to the city, trying to address if there's a way for us to remediate it or to remove it and maybe replace it. We've been told that it is a retention tree. It's been deemed a retention tree. Arborists have visited and said, you know, this tree is fine. It's not in any imminent danger of falling over. However, I've just been reviewing basically all the codes and whatnot that address the potential of tree removal. Obviously, there's not enough time in 3 minutes to go over that. Really just looking for a way to talk to somebody about the reasonableness of a request to try to have that removed. There is a process in place by which you can replace multiple trees, a minimum of 2 for each one that is removed. I even have the covenant that was placed on it by the previous owner. And the verbiage in there does not say to me that you cannot remove it, just that if it is, there is a process with approval from the city where you need to at least have 2 replace that one. So anyway, there's not enough time for me to really review all that, and I don't even know if I can ask questions, but we're just looking to find out if there's some way we can kind of follow up with somebody. They said basically we don't have any power to make a decision up here. I think Kelly is the person who's in charge. Maybe it was a different name, but I think it's Kelly. And so they said the city council basically has the power to create the codes. They're probably the ones you want to talk to. So I don't know if we can question and answer, if I can get an email and go back and forth with somebody and just kind of address this or what the situation is. By the way, we have submitted an offer on the home. We're the 4th person who's ready to walk away from purchase on the home if that tree is still on the property. So it's definitely a problem, not just in our eyes.
What's the address?
Do you remember the address right off the top of your head? It's on American. It's it's like 1344 something or another. You know where it is? Yeah. There's 2
On
4s.
American Way?
Yeah, on American Way.
I believe they had a forward tree there.
Yeah,
In the
it's
same location previously because of windfall.
Yeah. And we understand the code, rather the intent. I mean, I have the intent written out here. I don't even see that there's anything that we want to do that would be against the intent of code 17.102.00. I mean, it says it's to conserve and replenish the ecological, aesthetic, and economic benefits of urban forests, which we totally understand. We grew up in the Northwest. It's not that we just want to remove trees. In fact, we want trees to be there, but it's just, it feels extremely dangerous based on life experience. And we're obviously not the only ones who are feeling that way. So probably exhausted my time.
Yeah, you have, that's fine. The time's more of a suggestion. You're okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not
Well, I
super
want to be
strict on it.
respectful.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah.
374, Scott, 37344 American Street.
Thank you.
So Tyler, if you don't mind, because this can't really wait for, our update at our next city council meeting and all that, because they're making offers. If you can talk to Kelly and kind of just figure out what's going on and what kind of update we can give back. I mean, it sounds like there's an interpretation of the code or a process or something that needs to happen for you. Kelly would be the right person. Tyler's our acting city manager. So he'll be able to work on the staff side with you guys. and make
Okay,
sure you
all
have
right.
the right people.
And you know Jason as well, I understand.
Yes.
Okay.
By the time we make a code change for you,
Right.
you're gonna lose out on the house.
No, absolutely. And they're gonna lose out on a sale, right?
I still have the tree code book.
Which tree is this? Is this the deciduous
Before you
tree?
It's
or-
number 50.
Is it the deciduous tree or is
It
it?
is, no, it's not. It's a conifer. It's a
Conifer.
Douglas fir, yeah.
In the front or in the back?
It's in the back.
I know exactly the house you're talking about.
I was just looking at it now. Okay, thank you.
It seems like a reasonable request, do you think, or?
Well, it's hard. It's hard. It's not really on us. It's not really on us to
Right.
to say.
To say, but
Sure.
But we have given direction to our staff and our team is that we want very common sense, and for us to be able to work with people. So
Okay.
That said, I'll just speak up and just say that, there was a lot of trees cut down.
I understand that.
And the developer was in charge of kind of identifying the keeper trees.
Right.
And, to keep a tree that's gonna be so close to the house seems not very prudent. I mean, so.
It even
To
says in
some
the
extent,
covenant.
it's not the city.
Right. No, I agree.
It
Right.
was like you had to keep so many trees and they picked that one.
Right. It
And,
was probably hard to
as
pick.
a forester, I understand the need to cut down trees, but I also need understand the need to I live in that neighborhood and.
You
and,
do? Oh, yeah.
Well,
Or if you did.
never mind.
You've been around the area for a while.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So,
Tyler, you want to jump in?
Well, do you have contact information for Mr. Foster so that I can reach back out to him?
Yes, I do.
Foster.
Yep, I do.
Perfect.
the conversation will be fantastic. That's all we're asking for, and hopefully there's a reasonable solution.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate you guys.
Chris, do you want to still talk about
I
it?
just want to say,
Yeah.
if you saw the thing in person, I think you'd understand. It's very dangerous looking. It's got a split trunk come off the side. So it's a big tree and a little baby tree that does lean, not even directly on his property, but to the neighbors next door.
What year was the house?
And the
Was the
roots
house
are
built?
above ground.
It's ready, ready.
Yeah, a lot of the roots are above ground. When you look at it, you just go, how
I
does this
decided
say?
they had the arbitrary.
I even have pictures of bark that's been damaged and removed from the tree and roots that are cut from it. I don't know. I think it's dangerous on the
Yeah, I mean, and I'm thinking of extreme weather events we seem to be having more and more of them.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, the heavy wind, rainstorms, snow and ice, maybe even a big earthquake, these sort of things. I'm not sure if this tree will make it.
Yeah.
That's my feeling. And yeah, I'm just glad you guys were here to listen to us because I need to move on. My wife has some medical problems and I need to move. And if I can't have this, I
Yeah,
want to
figure it out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Can I ask you a quick
Real
question?
quick, yep.
Maybe, I was on the planning commission for 5 years, so I just want to ask a question.
Yeah.
When you said, did you talk to Kelly about removing that tree and then adding two? And he said you could not?
That's a good question. Jason actually reached out to Kelly originally. There's some emails back and forth. So I don't know how the whole conversation went with that.
All right.
But it's clear that there is a process in place. I think they're just,
There is with the variance, I just was
Yeah, with the
wondering
variance,
what
exactly.
he told you. I didn't know if he had told you, no, you couldn't do that if Kelly had, but it doesn't sound like you know that, so we'll talk to Kelly.
yeah, perfect. And I can email pictures and all sorts of stuff if that would be helpful, or I'm not even sure what I should do next.
That's in our tree code.
The
Scott,
variance would be.
Scott, we have your email address here, and we have your phone number. So we'll make sure Tyler reaches out to you. And then if not, Tyler Deems, Sandy City Manager, you should be able to find his contact.
Yeah, I don't have
on
a
the
business
card.
card with me.
We will
Yeah.
follow up
That's
with you,
fine.
sir.
Yeah, I'll be in touch.
You're on the website.
I'm on the
I'm
website.
sure.
And then me, just tag me on Facebook. I'm kidding.
Twitter or something.
Yeah.
In the comments section.
Yeah, the comments.
Is it
Appreciate it.
reasonable to give him a
Yeah.
time frame of when he can expect to hear from somebody?
Thank you. That's a good point.
That's a great question.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday today. I need to get familiar with the specific section of the code, so I need a day or two to do that, and I'm right in the middle of our audit.
What's the
So
expiration of your
First
offer?
of next week.
Pardon me?
What's the expiration date of your offer?
It already expired because the trees seem to be non-negotiable. However, right, I mean, we're in the situation where it's like, well, let's rewrite it, but there's no point, let's be on the tree, at least has some hope of being replaced.
So there you go.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you, really
Appreciate it. Let's give Jan another shot here. Thank you, John. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Hopefully you're living here, you can enjoy Winterfest.
I will.
Yeah.
Jan, if you're the person if you're the person on the telephone, can you dial *9? I'm not sure if, I don't see her anymore as an
Oh.
attendee. Mayor.
That's too bad.
I don't think it's her, Mayor.
Okay, we keep an eye.
Mhm,
I can always return.
Yep.
Okay, great. With that, let's go ahead and move ahead in our agenda to our consent agenda. We have our city council meeting minutes from our August 21st, 2023 meeting. Unless there's a discussion, I will entertain a motion to adopt.
I'll make a
we adopt-
motion. Oh, go ahead.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Exner, a second by
Many words.
Counselor Sheldon to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays. Motion carries. Moving ahead to old business, Cascade Creek Parks SDC dedication discussion. Tyler.
Thank you, Mayor. So you will recall, council, that there was a request from the planning commission that was brought forward by Councilor Mayton to dedicate a specific portion of park SDCs for new development to Ornstead Park. The council referred that to the Parks and Trails Advisory Board, and since that time, Rochelle's worked with them to get up to speed on what the request was. Had a meeting, got some feedback. The Parks Board provided a recommendation, and with that, I'll turn it over to Rochelle to give you more detailed information and let you know where we're at today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And yeah, Tyler did a good summary of basically why we're back here, and just a quick brief reminder that Planning Commission, June 26th, recommended to go to council. Council kicked it back to the Parks Board. We met August 9th. Parks Board discussed whether to recommend or not the 51% or greater dedication of parks SDCs towards Warnsted Park improvements. And it was unanimously a no. And they took several items into consideration as to why they don't support that. One being the Parks and Trails Master Plan, the newly adopted, circumvents the goals listed in that. And then there's the council goals, the 2023, 2025 council goals, and then the CIP project, which specifically lists certain dedication of park projects. And one being the community campus park project, Deer Point is on that list, and then the Meinig trail improvement. And so one of the things staff is doing is to, taking council goals and making efforts with the money that's available to accomplish those goals that are listed for this biennium's council. So I guess with that, the decision before the council today is whether the council wants to support the Parks Board's recommendation of not supporting the 51% or greater of dedication of parks SDCs for the Warnsted phase 2 of the park improvement.
Well, I guess, we don't have to take a vote on this, right?
So I make no
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah, no, literally, we would just table the discussion and move on. Yeah, sure, yeah, okay.
I just want to make a comment.
Yeah.
Since I was part of the planning commission that they asked me to bring it to the council. After reviewing the parks and trails, we kicked it back to them. I read their memo. I support their outcome. And I don't think there's anything else that we need to do as a city council, in my opinion. So that's, I just want to make sure I put that on the record.
Is there any further discussion that people would like to have, Kathleen?
I asked some questions earlier today, and I apologize because I must not have been very clear about it. But what's confusing me is that I get that we are saying no to dedicating 51% of the SDCs to Warnsted, and that proposal. I get that we're saying no to that. But what we're also saying is that what seemed to get support from the Parks Board was to basically use the SDCs from them, whether it was 51% or 100%, I don't know what percent it is, but whatever the SDCs are that are coming from Cascade Creek, and enter into a development agreement that would then build a parking lot and have street improvements at Warnsted Park, which is kind of just doing what we said we weren't going to do. And that's because we've got Deer Point, obviously, in the Meinig Park trails and the community campus, but we've got Champion Way, Ponder Lane, Sandy Bluff Park, Sandy River Park. We have a bunch of trails identified in Tier 1. And all those projects are going to have to get, shunted down the priority list if we then move Warnsted Park, which is a Tier 2 project, up and say we're going to pay for the development of a parking lot within the park and right of way.
I didn't read it that way, but we should ask that question to Parks, let them respond to that. They wrote that memo. I didn't read it that same way. I read it that they were giving us options and saying this is what we could do with that money.
But we don't.
They didn't say we
approve it.
were doing that.
But that's where I'm confused, and I apologize if I didn't ask that question quite clearly. So my understanding is what we're saying, no, don't want to dedicate the SDC funds, but what is being proposed as a recommendation is that we move forward with the development agreement.
No, we're exploring the option to talk with the developer about the potential of a development agreement. We've had no conversations with the developer at this point. It was the Parks Board saying, go forth, see what, if anything happens with that, based on the Parks and Trails Master Plan and the Warnsted Master Plan. And we might not even have a willing partner if that's the case, and all contracts, development agreements would go to council for approval.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is that it's also our job to we've kind of set direction and priorities with our master plan and all that. And so before we, say, yes, enter into some, start talking about a development agreement, because that's where I kind of think if we're going to say that, we need to kind of have some sideboards on it. For example, they have to provide 2 playgrounds at the apartments. There's 75 units or something at that apartment, so they have to provide 2 playgrounds. One of the things that I heard y'all say was that you wanted to have more little kid playground at Warnsted or something. If there's options to trade one of the playgrounds they have at the apartment and have them build that in, again, it's something that they would have to pay for anyways and wouldn't come out of the SDCs. Those are things that, I could see happening. I think we can all probably agree that it's helpful to have a couple ADA parking spots. That was one of the rationalizations of why entering into a development agreement would be helpful. If there's a way to kind of do that with just, create a couple parking spots for ADA where Village is already getting developed down there, and getting it, that's the northwest corner of the park. Create a couple parking spots down there or at another spot because we want to have a couple ADA parking spots. I could see doing something like that. But I guess what I'm not comfortable with is just kind of giving a carte blanche for say, yes, start talking about development agreements because what we're using when we talk that is we're using our park SDCs. So
what I hear you saying is that you don't agree with what the Parks Board recommendation was to explore development opportunities for that area.
I think there's exploring it with some sideboards, I guess, Chris, is what I'm saying. I think there's opportunities to explore. Is there?
But I think that's different from what you were saying earlier.
But we gotta at least see if there's even a willing partner.
Yeah,
Right.
can we not put the cart before the horse?
Yeah, I feel like we maybe are moving a little fast on it. Let's see if we have a willing partner on it. Let's allow them to do the outreach. We have a Parks Advisory that's advised us that they'd like staff to look at it. And it sounds like even you want to look at it to a certain degree. You just want some parameters around it, but we don't even know if they'll engage at this point.
But the projects that we were proposing are, that's what I'm kind of saying is that what is being discussed with the developers, will they build this new road? Can you put up Google Maps, please?
Can I just
Yeah.
make a point of clarification? I
Maybe
think
I've
we,
misunderstood.
no, I don't think you misunderstood. I think maybe we were too specific in the examples we provided. Those are not too specific, construction endeavors that we would be seeking for them to do. Those were
No.
just two projects that are
Examples.
top of
Yes.
mind that are in the area that we mentioned in the staff report. And so, I think just from that standpoint, those were examples that maybe we didn't need to include or share. We could have been less specific. Those are what's in the packet. That's what you have in front of you, but those are by no means specific projects that we're looking to accomplish, in 6 months with this developer. Those were just items that we could explore with a laundry list of other options that could be explored with development agreements that we sort of do with every development within reason, right? Like if we own, excuse me, parkland right next to any new development, we would be looking at, does it make sense for them to build the sidewalk out for us because they already have their concrete truck there and we're doing it. So, maybe we just highlighted these options a little too much when in fact, this is what we do behind the scenes anyways. So kind of a long-winded clarification point, but this isn't really anything outside of our normal, process internally and behind the scenes. We look for ways to accomplish anything that's in the master plan if it's within reason. We highlighted some, specific options that maybe are on the table with a willing partner, maybe not. I couldn't tell you because I don't know how far, that conversation will go. But yeah, I just want to try to get off of those specific topics as being what we're suggesting, because that wasn't the intent of the way that was written at all.
Okay, well, those were the things that,
They
those
jump
were
out at you,
things-
totally get it,
Yeah,
yeah.
and so I just, that's what was proposed, and I was like, why would we even be building that? Do you have the Google Maps up there?
Yeah, Mayor, would you like me to throw that?
Sure.
up there? Okay.
Just the idea, the proposal was to basically build the road on the west side of the park, and there's a whole development. I mean, there's a whole parcel of land that's not part of the Cascade Creeks, that whole field to the left. The proposal was to basically have the developer build out Village Boulevard, which is a median, 20-foot wide median, big, huge road. It's very costly. And so I'm just kind of wondering why we would do that, not just wait till that parcel developed and things like that. Those are the kind of things that really concern me. And like I said, using SDCs, a significant amount of SDCs when those FCCs have already been promised to other projects in tier 1 is kind of what, what I'm concerned about, because we haven't done any outreach to all these other Ponder Lane, Champion Way, all these other parks people that are expecting a park. I'm concerned about
So it
that.
looks like as far as our action tonight, though, that our council's not going to be taking any action on this specific agenda item. Is that correct?
Yes.
I move we table this.
Okay.
I don't think we even have to vote on that. I think I'm tabling it. Okay. All right.
Well, fine.
Moving ahead to resolutions, proposed changes to our master fee schedule, resolution 2023-31.
Thank you, Mayor. Council will recall that not too long ago, we brought back a whole comprehensive update to the master fees and charges It was noted in that staff report on June 20th that there was a small section of building and planning fees that would not be adopted at that time because of a noticing requirement with the state building division. And so we are just now bringing back those building and planning fees for adoption, since we have now completed the 45-day notice requirement with the state. Just to reiterate what those fee increases were, it was an across-the-board 6% rate increase, matching CPI, similar approach that we had throughout the entire budget process. Councilor Exeter will recall probably more than anyone else up here that we've had a major initiative to do more moderate fee increases
Right.
more regularly instead of waiting several years and doing larger ones. And so this is continuing that endeavor of more modest rate increases tied to CPI to ensure that we can bring in the revenue to cover the cost of service. And so tonight we're just looking to get resolution 2023-31 adopted with the 6% rate increase. There's no other changes to any other fees in that document. It's just sections 2 and 3 for planning and building charges, and the approximate increase for an average single family home is about $350 or so on a typical building permit.
Great. Is there a motion to adopt?
I'll make a
Go ahead.
move
Caroline.
to adopt resolution. I move to adopt resolution 2023-31, a resolution amending the city master fee schedule.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's a motion from Counselor Walker and a second from Counselor Mayton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nays. Motion carries. All right, Tyler, report from the city manager.
All right, just a couple items for you this evening. So first, I'll give you a quick update on the fire. I know you've got a lot of emails from me last week, and then I sort of fizzled out because there wasn't a whole lot of changes happening. That was probably a poor
Choice of words.
Yeah, didn't think
Wishful
about that.
thinking. but-
Right.
No.
It hasn't fizzled out, but it has not grown or continued to grow like it was those first few days. It's about 1,900 acres right now. You'll see it's 16% contained at this morning's report, which is improvement. Still right along the Forest Road 12 and 14. I'm sure Councilor Smallwood is very aware of how the efforts are progressing, but the last report that I've seen is that the favorable weather that we had of the last few days with rain, cooler temperatures has helped. But of course, the underbrush and duff and everything that's up there is just very deep and dense.
If this thing burns till January, which is what I expect it to do until the snow, not grow, but it's going to burn in there until we get some snow. Are they gonna keep up this full court press until then? Or are they going to, at some point, let this thing fizzle?
Yeah. I have not heard of what the plan is going forward. I have heard those comments that it's likely that it could burn for a very long time, just given the amount of fuel that's in there. I would imagine that if its containment level continues to increase and it's not spreading anymore and just burning and smoldering, that would probably decline in the level of severity and sort of press that it's getting right now.
One of the things that I know in a larger fire like something like this, that there's always rehab that needs to be done. I haven't heard anything in terms of what might possibly be in the future for that. And since it's so close to our drinking water, I would certainly hope. Can you find out what's going on there? I just haven't been able to in my world.
I haven't heard of any, remediation efforts planned yet or anything like that, but I do know that, of course, with fire that close to the watershed, I'm sure there's a risk of increased turbidity events
Okay.
because of stuff, for lack of a better word, that's going to get in the watershed. So,
Erosion.
but I don't have a comprehensive report from Portland Water Bureau or anyone else
It's
this
actually
time
quite a
about.
ways away, Carl. I'll tell you, it is quite a ways away. If Jenny was looking for a, like a extra stamp of emphasis on her plan, she kind of got it.
Yeah, so, not to get too far into the weeds, but we did put out that statement on Friday, I believe it was, that, we weren't sure how quick that fire was going to grow, what direction it was going to spread. And so we were trying to be proactive with our community members that if Bull Run was shut down, we would have to potentially curtail water and water consumption here in town. And to your point, Councilor Hopkinson, we get 25% of our water in the summer from Portland because we can't produce enough.
Plan
Get
to
away
change
from
the water.
So once we get,
So that we have a backup.
once we get the Alder Creek improvements underway. That's going to increase the production capacity up there. So we'll be able to meet more of our own demand, rely less on Portland, but we'll have that also redundant supply from Portland.
For the
new-
groundwater.
Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
key, the groundwater returns.
So it's a two-pronged approach, right? We want to have a resiliency aspect. But we also want to be able to produce our own water efficiently and effectively from our source too.
I think the challenge here is, again, like in that old growth, there's at least 3 feet of duff and huge down
8.
logs and everything else. And so,
8 feet of depth.
oh, at least, yeah. So, I mean, there's old logs underneath,
there is.
you walk around and there's just humps and those are old logs. So, yeah, it's gonna go to ground and it's gonna be burning all winter. And I think the concern that I have is that when the winds do come, which they will eventually, that some of that, if it's not soaked, it does dry out or something like that. That's my concern. If we get some winds later in the fall where things are still dry, or even, I expect that fire will still be, creeping around next spring when, things can kind of change. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, this is gonna be a long time. I think they've done a fantastic job with what they have, and it really, it's given it, I used to plan all this stuff all the time. Every year we do Fire in the Bull Run, what do we do? And now they've, had to put some reality to those scenarios and figure out how to widen roads and get turnarounds for low boy, stuff like that. So I'm really pleased with what you guys have done and everybody else.
Yeah, I would just add, 2 more things. The first being the communication out of this event, night and day compared to what happened in 2020. Fire district's been great to work with. The county's been great to work with. The Forest Service has been great to work with. I've been included since that morning on phone calls. Jeff has been included since that first morning of the report of the fire, on phone calls, meetings, Zooms, community forums. So it's been a really great process. It's a terrible event, but it's been a really good exercise to actually see how all that comes together and how good the communication can improve from one event to the next. And then secondly, I just wanted to say thank you to the staff who didn't get a weekend last weekend because they were monitoring our water levels, they were monitoring the fire, they were in constant coordination with
Thank you.
other agencies. And so, Jenny, Ryan, AJ, Joe, Jeff, myself, put in a lot of hours to make sure that we were staying on top of it because it could have changed pretty quickly. And we were preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best. And so far it's turned out okay. So
Thank you. Thank you.
and then my one last update, school started today. We did not hear of any major traffic issues. Now, I'm not saying there wasn't congestion or anything like that, but no one was ran over that I'm aware of. It was a good first day back to school. We will have a new road soon, which will even further alleviate those congestion issues over by the middle school and high school. So really excited about that in the coming weeks, hopefully.
Do you have a date yet?
Do not have a date. I've heard that it's improving, right, with ODOT, but they haven't given us a date.
I'm reluctant to state it in a public meeting. I think
Oh, yeah.
It's still October.
yes,
Is it October?
I feel very confident saying the month of October. Absolutely.
All right.
I mean, you can see there's 10 foot of pavement that needs to be done and just these switches that are.
Yeah, which I think
traffic
would have been
switches and
done.
signals.
It's just this part, really.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
we
the
could have
signal
hurried
control.
the rest of it. Yeah.
So we're getting close, but not quite there yet.
Okay.
And that's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Would you like me to add any remarks about next week and the city manager?
Oh, please, sure.
So I just wanted to, if anyone has any questions, so just to recap, on Tuesday, the 12th, there will be 2 receptions. First of all, one for the staff from 3:30 to 5, and then for you all, you're invited to come to the community reception, which is from 6 to 7:30 at Ann Farm Cafe. That's Tuesday. On Wednesday, there's nothing for the council to do. On Wednesday, there are 3 panels, interview panels, one with community members, one with the department heads, and the third with sort of peer administrators. So that's other city managers or other kind of public administrators from the area. On Thursday, it's council's time. I updated your calendar event a little bit earlier. It's a long day. Apologies in advance. We are looking at 8:30 to 4. Lunch will be provided. Breakfast will be provided.
I was gonna say buffet for grazing.
Yeah.
Cots?
Is there any way to narrow
I
that
will not be
down
available for
for
that.
Cots for now.
individuals?
I'm sorry?
Is there any way to narrow that time slot down to individuals like myself? Because on Thursdays, I'm normally in Washington all day, so I need to rearrange my schedule up there, and I'm wondering, is it the whole day? Is it a mandatory whole day, or is it
So
something that I could come in at 10 to 2, or what's
the
it?
reason it's set up that way is because you'll have 90 minutes with each candidate. And so 8:30 gives 30 minutes for orientation, and then you're literally into back-to-back interviews with a break for lunch. So it really is that whole time. Yeah. It's
Should be like speed dating.
I
No,
thought
it's not.
maybe.
I've
on
never
your
speed
invite,
dated. I
so
don't
let's
think
see.
No,
I'll
10
try.
minutes, you know.
and then Friday from 9 to whenever you're done is the deliberation. So
What day?
the following morning.
The following morning. Okay.
So
Just
That's-
Friday, that
that's
next Friday
when-
morning.
that's correct.
So
I got
we
no problem.
meet Thursday. When do we get the report from our consultant on his
Friday.
take?
Next
Friday morning.
So Friday morning, we
Friday
get,
morning.
so Friday morning, we get the
Either
consultant
way,
report
I mean,
and we get
he's
to deliver.
So whether
No,
I,
I'm just
me
letting-
or you guys, it's all of our fault.
I'm just telling you.
Because I know, but our staff's had this on all of our, and I've screwed up my schedule as we've just talked about. But it's on all of us because we've
Sure.
had this on our schedules and blocked off for several weeks now.
Okay, yeah.
So.
And
I'm
that's
just
all.
pointing out, so the Friday morning, we don't get a
Because you
read
said you
ahead on the report. We read it when we
That
show
is.
up.
Speed reading, not speed dating.
You there.
Right, right, Don.
Thanks for everybody on the fire stuff. I'll just leave it at that.
Thanks.
Speaking of school kids, happened to be by mistake, but I went through Pleasant next to Sandy Gray when it opened up, and my goodness,
Good point.
it was not a good plan. There was kids everywhere and parents holding hands, and many kids that were parted from their parents' hands. And so I just want to remind everybody to just be careful, especially when the little kiddies are out there. Just I was looking for a way to exit as quickly as possible, and it turned out to be a very slow exit. This thing about trucks going down Langensan because they can't make it through the Meinig Road and Pleasant seemed to be going on long and long and long.
Mhm.
I have a meeting at Ant Farm every Tuesday morning, first thing, and my goodness, and I park in the doggy parking thing, or whatever you want to call it, the Red Pickings parking lot. And across the road there, the intersection, and there's always cars are parked up as close to the crosswalk as possible. And I noticed that the crosswalk and the car stopping lines are really getting to be blurred out by all the traffic and stuff. Is there any way we can at least paint those?
So it's not the crosswalk, it's that they let them build that new signage there for the Thrive that blocks your view of cars coming down.
I
the
get that
street.
part.
So you have to pull out to make the mayor's legal left turn on a red.
The mayor's.
No, it is. I'll claim it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. I stop at that line when I do
And you
that.
have
and
to
you look
creep
through it.
out. And once you creep out, now there's traffic and a truck wants to turn, you've now blocked it.
So what do we do?
You gotta move the sign. I told Kelly this a few weeks ago.
The Thrive
What
sign,
is that?
not
the-
my left turn sign.
No, no.
You're right.
It's a one
Thrive
Brad
sign.
Pickett put in there that's really expensive and looks very nice.
That's
and-
the sign you're
Beautiful,
talking
but
about?
it's-
Yeah,
it's
the tall one.
The big one.
Beautiful, but it blocks the view. It shouldn't have been allowed.
And it is creating more truck traffic down Langensan. And I just noticed that over the weekend, there's just a number of trucks coming through there. So there's that. On a personal basis, when we do the League of Oregon City thing in Eugene, my wife has a operation the day before and I have to do some things. So I will be late on that day. But I'll be there. Just
I had a comment from the woman that lives on DeBarco across, kind of near the townhomes on DeBarco across from Tickle Creek, just west of the Tickle Creek entrance, that the person who constructed what was referred to as the Love Shack, which was this building shed that got built right off Tickle Creek Trail, and that we destroyed. We cleaned it all up on a salt cleanup. It's pretty big. It's a big, huge shed. Somebody had stolen all the doors from the building developments and things like that. It was a pretty sophisticated building. And anyway, the person who had built that was known to this woman that lives across the street. She would see him going in and out. And so she let me know that it looked like the same guy was going back in there again. And so I sent an email to Ernie and Tyler, and Ernie said that they had followed up. So I just want to make sure, Sean, I don't know if just making sure that kind of got followed up, because that guy did a lot of damage in a pretty short amount of, I don't know how long he was out there, but we carted off like 2 huge coolers full of pee and poop in the cleanup, and I just don't want to see any of that again. So hopefully he's been moved on and that's been looked into, and I don't know who should, I think the parks folks, y'all know where it was, because you had to go clean it too. I really want to thank everybody, the staff, for putting a nice going away party for Ernie. It was very nice, and it was great to see Kim Yamashita back and some other folks. So I really appreciate Ernie's hard work that he's done all these years, and I really look forward to having Sean here to fill those shoes for now. And I just want to thank all the parks folks, the whole community center and parks department, for all that work on Winterfest that you guys have been doing on the planning. It's just been awesome. And you're so small, but you do so much. So I really appreciate all that work. And I think folks have all these kind of things, and I appreciate the idea that we kind of need to keep it manageable for you. And I do know there's volunteers like the Kiwanis and other groups out there that are willing to help put up lights if that's something that you guys want help with. So thanks for all the work you're doing on that. It's going to be really exciting. Look forward to it.
Great, thank you. Rich.
Kathleen said what I was going to say, but I'm just going to shorten it with a thank you for being here and the work you did tonight. So thank you.
Great.
Number 4.
Crap, I wasn't ready for mine. First, thank you to Parks and Recreation team. You guys are doing a phenomenal job. Thank you for everything you guys are doing on that. Tyler mentioned back to school. There was a little bit more traffic than I think Tyler wants to give credibility to that I had it, but that's because Lucy and Olivia's school bus had a new driver, turned up the high school way, then had to turn around and got stuck in all that high school traffic. And I was sitting in the car when I heard this, like, oh, if we had just built that road, right, it would have been fine. So
Did that bus hit anything that you saw when they turned around?
well, I didn't see the bus
Okay.
turning around.
Okay.
But I will say the driver looks a lot more relaxed than I would have looked with how late he was. So he
Okay.
didn't look like nervous about anything. And then I was going to do a reminder of city manager interviews coming up, and to make sure we're checking our schedules with that. And that's all I have. Austin and those guys did a great job at the I can't remember what's the name of the Sandy Chainsaw festival. There was just a lot of good chatter and stuff about it, just showing a great sector. They do a lot with our youth and stuff, and so it was a great event. Thank you to those guys for doing that. With that, we'll adjourn tonight's meeting. Thank you, everybody.